Hi, everybody. Welcome. I hope you're having a great day or night wherever you are. I do hope that you've been watching some of the other videos and finding it useful. But if this is the first video you've ever stumbled across, again, my goal with Lighten Up with Beau is just to kind of playfully, more joyfully introduce you to A Course in Miracles that is foundational to my journey in life and remembering who we are and what the Course in Miracles points to, which is really all of our body identities, these skin suits that we call us with names and birthdays and zodiac signs and all that stuff, that they're really just puppets to our true selves, that our soul is really a shared state. And that's what the Christ is, the one self, right? So, A Course in Miracles is just a playful way to remember that. And there's the lessons and then there's the chapters. So as I've been finding my way, we're at chapter 4. Yeah, we made it to chapter 4. And as I've said to you as I've started, there's no short, quick fix, even though most of us want one if we're honest. Even when we say, "Oh yeah, man, I'm really gonna get vigilant and disciplined," and most of us struggle with that. So because the Course in Miracles chapters are so dense and heavy, I encourage you to read one subsection at a time. But what I've decided, just to make it easy, is I'm just gonna kind of give you my, I don't know, really brief understanding of what this chapter is about. And then I'm going to pick one section that I love, and I am going to read it paragraph by paragraph. Some of the languaging can be like, what? Oh my God. I mean, I'm just being honest. Some of the language in A Course in Miracles, it's beautiful, it's spiritually poetic, but it's also like, what did he say? Like, because the ego mind is literally getting undone with these words in my experience. So in the beginning, it's just like, I don't know, stop reading this or what? So that's what I'm trying to do, just bring some fun to this whole experience. So, chapter 4, the ego's struggle to preserve itself. Glad you're here. What is this kind of as a whole? I mean, this chapter, if I had to just put it in regular words, it's like Jesus is saying through Helen Schuckman, the woman who channeled Jesus, hey, here's how the ego keeps you busy trying to survive. Like a big storm, a tornado. Here's how the ego keeps you busy trying to survive a storm that isn't even real to begin with. You know those times when you're just going through your day and suddenly your brain's like, wait, what did they mean by that text? Or why do I still have not, why have I not figured this out yet? You know, like you get a text message from somebody and your brain's like, wait, what did they mean? Or, something's going on in your life and you're just like, I don't understand. Why haven't I got that yet? That's the ego. And it loves looping everyone in with these tiny self little fixing projects. And for me, I swear, reading this chapter, because I've read it a lot, but I was going through it again. It kind of feels like having someone pull the curtain back and go, "See, that voice that you keep defending over and over, it's not actually you." It's wild because it's not really shaming the ego, but there's just this kind of calm exposing happening, like a gentle, loving teacher turning on the lights after a long nap and just saying, "You can wake up now," but like really gently to the most beautiful music. You ever notice how in the world, like kind of right now, there like everything's about protection? What do I mean protecting? Protect your brand, protect your boundaries, your identity. It's like we're all building these ego bunkers and calling it safety. But this chapter is more like, hey, what if you didn't need a bunker to begin with? What if the whole thing that we're guarding, that everyone's guarding, that you're guarding, isn't even under attack to begin with? That the ego is a literal system of judgment and attack. It is judging, it is attacking. And the line that hits me every time, which is the section that I'm going to read, is this need not be. I'll say it again. This need not be. It doesn't just mean the things that we're seeing outside of us. It means the idea or the thought or the belief that I have or that I didn't even know I have need not be. Like, oh, right. I don't have to keep playing the endless defense protection game. The second I stopped protecting my separateness, my right, my me, I remember I was never really in danger. And I think what happens is when we get quiet and we start to unpack these chapters section by section, what's happening is that part of us that always feels it needs to pivot and protect and defend, a question starts to come in. Wait, but this isn't true? Something happens. So, and from there, I think peace kind of just sneaks in on its own. So today I'm going to slow it down and read one section out of this chapter, and because it's pretty deep and I just love it, and I'm just going to share what comes up for me paragraph by paragraph, real time. And I'm not here to like try to be some Course in Miracles guru. When the Christ comes through, truth just comes through, and I'm not going to profess when or how I might know Christ's consciousness serves or works through anyone. I'm just going to open my mouth and share from the heart and walk you through one section. So let's just see what shows up. Let's get to it. Now, by the way, remember, if you don't have the purple version of A Course in Miracles, which is the latest, least unedited version that was released in the past few years, that's okay, because this is still going to be valuable. This section is really about looking at the ego, uncovering it, and it's a beautiful chapter in A Course in Miracles. But enjoy the video, and now enjoy this reading. Chapter 4. Hey, I just flipped right to it. Look at that. This need not be. All right. So here we go. Paragraph by paragraph, and there's 17 of them, so I hope you enjoy. Now, by the way, if you're new to A Course in Miracles, which some of you might be, then let me remind you that A Course in Miracles, when Helen in the 60s channeled Jesus, it was channeled in a language that people called iambic pentameter, kind of like Shakespearean language, like biblical language. Anybody that reads enough Course in Miracles realizes this is not a dogma or a religion, but what many, let's call it Course in Miracles or spiritual scholars will say is that if Jesus hadn't spoken in this way at that time in the 60s or whatnot, people would have discredited it. People would have been like, oh, she wrote this. But after pages and pages of many people reading this, of course, it became evident there is just no way that this woman wrote this book. But if the languaging starts to kind of tune you out, just hang in there. I'm going to get to the simple part, but it's very beautiful and poetic. This need not be, which is subsection 6 in chapter 4. If you cannot hear the voice of God, it is because you do not choose to listen. The fact that you do listen to the voice of your ego is demonstrated by your attitudes, your feelings, and your behavior. Your attitudes are obviously conflicted. Your feelings have a narrow range of variation on the negative side, but are never purely joyous. And your behavior is either strained or unpredictable. But it's never, oh, yeah, this is what you want. This is what you are fighting to keep and what you are vigilant to save. Your mind is filled with schemes, plans to save the face of your ego, and you do not seek the face of God. Now, that section, I have the entire one highlighted because what it says to me right out of the gate is, if we can't hear the call of love, the voice of unchanging peace and power, it's not because we're separate from it. It's not because we don't know where to look. If we're radically honest with one another, how many of us choose 100 different things to busy ourselves with before we go inward, when we close our eyes in a meditation or open our eyes and say, Father, Mother, God, great reality, great wisdom, spirit of all life. Because I don't care if you're a religious person or not. Even science says the same substance is in all life, that it has an intelligence to it. So whatever you call it, God, Gaia, it doesn't matter the word. Speak, let it come from your own heart, but most of us don't call to it. It says we don't choose to listen. But we're never fully joyous, which is the great reality of Christ consciousness, of one-mindedness. Our mind is filled with plans to save the face of our ego. I mean, all we got to do is look out in the world and see the things that we bedazzle our life with, and how many things we call on before we go into our own heart or a space of silence and just say, let me hear you. And this can be a practice of meditation. It can be a practice of journaling. It can be this practice of A Course in Miracles. Again, for me, the power in these chapters is just simply that by reading these words, they wash away the illusions. The ego mind is the busy doer mind, and it's the one that it reads this and it immediately is going in to try to solve something, fix something. What do I do with it? Nothing to do. Just let the truth wash your mind, wash your perception. The second paragraph, the glass in which the ego seeks to see its face is dark indeed. How can it maintain the trick of its existence except with mirrors? But where you look to find yourself is up to you. We have said that you cannot change your mind by changing your behavior. We have also said, and many times before, that you can change your mind. I think this is enough said, guys. Paragraph 2, so many of us try to busy our lives with changing our behavior, but I love an AA where they say you can't think your way into right acting, but you can act your way into right thought. But let's be clear. You can't take an action without first having a thought or an idea to take that action. So in truth, we have in fact only changed our mind, and then the behavior follows. I think what they're saying in 12-step recovery when they say that is you can't just sit around and think about things. Once that thought comes in, it needs to move into expression. And I love that line, but where you look to find yourself is up to you. And I love that we're just starting to explore this in A Course in Miracles, like, where are you looking? And, it makes me emotional because I'm grateful to have the clarity. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Spirit, that I have so often looked to find myself in another person, in a woman, in a job, in a bank account. And I'm grateful that what this points to is where we are found is in the silence inside our being. This is where that self starts to birth. Paragraph 3, when your mood tells you that you have willed wrongly, meaning chosen wrongly, when your mood tells you that you have willed wrongly, and this is so whenever you are not joyous, then no, this need not be. So it's saying whenever your mood tells you that you've willed wrongly, meaning whenever you're not totally joyous, what this course is saying is that you have made a wrong choice, not a wrong choice, but you have willed incorrectly. You have chosen from fear. You have chosen from anxiety. You have chosen from the small self, the split self. And it says, know that this need not be. In every case, you have thought wrongly about some brother, some sister, some person, some situation that God created and are perceiving images your ego makes in a darkened glass. What's a darkened glass? You're looking through the lens of fear. You're looking through a perception of insanity and looking out on brothers and sisters and others with a lens of duality and separation and fear. That's the darkened glass. And think honestly what you have thought that God would not have thought, and what you have not thought that God would have you think. Meaning in that moment when you're in that fear and that darkened glass and maybe you recognize it, there's a moment to make a different choice. I know that I've just thought with fear here. What would the mind of unlimited love think? Make it into your own words. If you like thinking of Jesus, if you like thinking of God, if you like thinking divine angel, whatever beautiful perceptual image that speaks to your own heart. What would that essence think? And see what comes up. It says, search sincerely what you have done and left undone accordingly, and then change your mind to think with God's. Paragraph 4, this may seem hard to you, but it is much easier than trying to think against it. Your mind is one with God's, with life's, with eternal creation. Denying this and thinking otherwise has held your ego together, but has literally split your mind. As a loving brother, so Jesus is talking directly to all of us here. As a loving brother, I am deeply concerned with your mind and urge you to follow my examples as you look at yourself and at others and see in both the glorious creations of a glorious creator. Now, I changed the word father to creator there because, look, it's my belief that father triggers many people. So I believe Spirit inspired me to use the word creator. It seems more neutral. So in that section, I love the statement, your mind is one with God's. And if you're anything like me, just maybe notice, watch how there's a part of your mind that goes, my mind's not one with God's. No way, it's too dark, or that's insane. I'm not saying for you to do anything with it, but just notice it. Paragraph 5, when you are sad, know that this need not be. Depression is of the ego, and you are hiding little spots of hatred that are hurting you. Depression always arises ultimately from a sense of being deprived of something you want and do not have. Know, in italics, the word know. Know you are deprived of nothing except by your own decisions, and then decide otherwise. Meaning it's saying, if you feel that something is lacking in your life, if you feel that you don't have something, what he's saying is it is ultimately at the absolute level impossible, because what God has endowed its creations with is forever. So when we feel in a state of depression, when we realize maybe I've decided that I don't have something, it says in that moment, make the choice to know. I am deprived of nothing. And maybe you throw in your own prayer, God, bring me the people, places, and things to restore that awareness, that truth to me in a way that I can't fail to understand. Paragraph 6, when you are anxious, know that all anxiety comes from the capriciousness of the ego, and it need not be. You can be as vigilant against the ego's dictates as for them. Meaning, the ego thought system, hey, where's my phone, anyone? We have it? Just checking the time. All right. It's basically saying, when you are anxious, know that it need not be, and you can be as vigilant against the ego's thought system of fear and separation and anxiety and worry. You can be vigilant against it. No, this need not be. I am fulfilled. Look, whether you're a mantra person or not, or you want to use the Course in Miracles sentences, you can use your own language. This need not be. I am fulfilled. I am whole. I am what life created me as. I desire only the evidence of this to be true. And let's be honest, guys. If we're really honest, we can feel that part of us desires the opposite of this to be true. We're like, well, but wait a minute. If I'm only one with life and there's no separation, then all this kind of unique, special, playful life that I've created just for my life, you have your life, I have my life, that we kind of don't, we're afraid we're going to lose something of value over there. So I love this. When you feel guilty, paragraph 7, know that your ego has indeed violated the laws of God, but you have not. See, the ego system is a system of fear that we're identified with, but it's not who you are. It's not who I am. Leave the sins, which, by the way, the word sin is just to miss the mark. It's a mistake that can be corrected. It's not something that is beyond correction. And quite frankly, as we're told in the Course in Miracles, it's already done. I love that mantra to say that, oh, it's already done. I don't need to wait for it to happen in the future. Leave the mistakes, the sins of the ego to me. I love that Jesus is basically a brother who's living in limitless eternity, letting us know that all minds are joined. So in reality, I've already taken care of everything. Leave it to me, meaning leave it to the truth that is already here where it's already undone. And that evidence will show up if I get out of the way. So he's saying, leave them to me. That is what the atonement is for. But until you change your mind about those your ego has hurt, the atonement cannot release you. As long as you feel guilty, your ego is in command. Because only the ego can experience guilt. This need not be. And I just love it. I've learned, folks, that guys, I don't know how that happens. I don't know. I don't have a true intellectual understanding, which I don't think can happen, about how this need not be. I love that it's just a gentle saying of this need not be. Are you willing to gently say that into any situation that's happening in your life? Just know this need not be. Paragraph 8. Be honest in trying to see whom your ego has hurt, and also in trying to change your mind about them. I am not unmindful of your efforts in this direction, but you still have way too much energy invested in your ego. This need not be. Watch your mind for the temptations of the ego, and do not be deceived by it. Know it offers you nothing. No. I love in this section, it says in italics, no. It offers you nothing. Paragraph 9, those with a habit of disengagement often do not make consistent efforts to change their minds except through applying their old pattern to these new ones. Even then, however, they can learn that the mind gains control over itself when they direct it genuinely toward perceiving someone else truly. Their lack of vitality is due to their efforts at solving their needless depression and anxiety through disinterest, because their egos were protected by this unfortunate negative attitude. They are afraid to abandon it. When they exert real efforts to give up this voluntary dispiriting, being dispirited, they will see how their minds can focus and rise above fatigue and heal. But they are not sufficiently vigilant against their ego's demand to disengage themselves. This need not be. Okay, that was a lot. Some of you are just like, what the? I know this one well. A crafty tactic of the ego is to disguise disengagement, solitude, isolation, but disguise it as a way that we believe that we're looking at the shadows and the misbeliefs and the rage and the hatred and the grief and the sadness that have misbeliefs still attached to them. And we just kind of walk in this spiritually aloof disengagement because the ego could be bothered with really freeing up. It's like, oh yeah, cool, that all stuff sounds good, but let's get back to the shiny stuff and playing together and like, whoa, bro. Like, I've watched people when I'm saying something from truth. Like, they've asked me a question and I've given them an answer, and I've watched people literally just shut down. And we've all done it. I've done it. We've asked for the answer of love or truth, and then the ego's just like, boop, good. I got to get back to, I don't even know, but I got to go. So we don't need to use disinterest as a disguise to not looking at these things in a way that will be helpful and serve our soul. So All right, everybody. So we're just going to keep going on to the next paragraph. I know that last one was a lot. I really do. I get it. So we just take a breath, we pause and say, okay, but hopefully that explanation helped a little bit. So, paragraph 10, right? The new habit of engaging with God and its creations is easily made if you actively refuse to let your mind slip away. Your problem is not concentration, it is a belief that nobody, including yourself, is worth consistent effort. Side with me consistently against this deception. So, kind of piggybacking off the last paragraph, it's basically not that we don't know how to concentrate on something. It's just a belief that us and everybody included, like, I don't know how many times I've heard people, including me, be like, well, I'm not worthy yet. Like, who am I to devote this much time to miracles or forgiveness or looking inward? Like, why me? It's for other people. Oh, hey, and by the way, guys, if for some reason you realize the video, my facial hair just got a little bit longer, it's because I did this into two parts. So you're not crazy. Just thought I'd throw that in because this is Lighten Up. It doesn't have to be polished and perfect. So, do not permit this shabby belief to pull you back. The disheartened are useless to themselves and to me, but only the ego can be disheartened. I love that statement. So, what Jesus is really saying to all of us is, turn inward to the Spirit, to me, to Christ consciousness, to remind you that only the ego nature could feel disheartened about anything. I've heard people, including some of my family, who basically have said, I'm too old. This is a version of being disheartened or disinterested, to go back to the last paragraph. Disinterested and being disheartened by something is just a tactic of the ego. Because I don't know, if you're like me, I would think that most people, if you talk about the attributes of God or love or healing, it's not limited to time. Miracles are not limited by human understanding. So I think it's just basically saying, be watchful when you feel this idea or belief come in that sounds like disengagement and disinterest based off any particular outside circumstance. Like, I'm too old, I've done too much bad things in the past, so this is the reason for my ego mind to be disengaged and disinterested in this process. Next paragraph. Have you really considered how many opportunities you have to gladden yourself, and how many of them you have refused? There is no limit to the power of a child of God, but they themselves can limit the expression of their power as much as they want to. And this is my favorite sentence in this paragraph. Your mind, that means all of our minds, your mind and mine, Jesus is talking directly to the minds of those reading this. Your mind and mine can unite in shining your ego away and releasing the strength and beauty of God into everything you think and will and do. And I double underlined this. Do not settle for anything less than this, and refuse to accept anything but this as your goal. So it's saying, your mind and mine, the mind of Christ, which is really our mind, but while we're still thinking we're these little separate selves, it's like, hey, you can turn to me and I can unite us back into the oneness I've already remembered for us. Your mind and mine can unite in shining your ego away. Do not settle for anything less than this. Which, guys, here's another way of saying this, because the ego is always going to be confused, bewildered, disturbed, and just quite frankly, bored with all of this. It's just going to be like, can we just get back to the real world? Can we just, it's great, man. Can we just get back to life? And again, what life? How is a dream of who we really are living? And so it's just saying you don't stop moving in your day-to-day life, but maybe make the invitation in everything that you do to let the mind that you think you are and the Christ mind, Jeshua ben Joseph, Jesus, whatever word you want to use, Buddha, it doesn't matter. Jesus is just saying an awakened mind that you believe in. The Buddha, Jesus, the Dalai Lama, an ascended master that I don't know the name of, it doesn't matter. Set your intention that everything be used for your mind and the mind of the awakened to be joined. Because this is all about remembering who we are. Next paragraph. Oh, and then it says after that, to finish that paragraph, 11, watch your mind carefully for any beliefs that hinder its accomplishment and step away from them. So that's another way of saying just start to watch the mind and any beliefs in fear, doubt, lack, scarcity, loss. Yeah. Paragraph 12, judge how well you have done this by your own feelings, meaning you can kind of measure, take your own temperature of how well you've accomplished the intention of making everything about joining your mind with Christ. Judge how well you have done this by your own feelings, for this is the one right use of judgment. Judgment, like any other defense, can be used to attack or protect, to hurt or to heal. The ego should be brought to your own judgment and be found wanting there. Without your own allegiance, protection, and love, the ego cannot exist. I'm going to read that again. Without your own allegiance, belief, protection, and love of the ego, it cannot exist. Judge your own ego truly, and you must withdraw allegiance, protection, and love from it. Meaning, if you really get honest about the nature of the egoic mind, the fearful mind, the dualistic mind, the judging based off past and future and right and wrong and good and bad mind, if you really judge it truthfully with peace, there's no way that you can give your allegiance to that mind. And when you do that, you simultaneously invite another mind to be restored. Paragraph 13, you are a mirror of truth in which God itself shines in perfect clarity. To the ego's dark glass, to the ego's dark filter, you need only say this: I will not look there because I know these images are not true. Meaning you won't go to the ego, or we will learn to not go to the ego's perception that looks through fear to label and judge things, because you know that when it looks out into the world through its lenses, that you're not really seeing anything at all. And I know we're only in chapter 4, there's a lot more to go, but Jesus starts to repeat all these beautiful threads all throughout the chapters in unique ways. Continuing paragraph 13, once you say that, then let the Holy One shine upon you in peace, knowing that this and only this must be. So now instead of saying all these things need not be, he's saying, knowing that this and only this must be. Its mind shone on you and your creation and brought your mind into being. Its mind still shines on you and must shine through you. Your ego cannot prevent it from shining upon you, but it can prevent you from letting it shine through you. So basically what it's saying is it's laughable that we could get in the way of eternal life, limitless love, abounding creation, God, whatever name you call it. How could we limit it from its expression? Because its expression is forever. But when we identify with the ego mind, we can absolutely put a seeming, because it's really happening in a dream, but we can put a seeming barrier to feeling the love and the light that is being shined on us all the time as what we are, as who we are, ideas in the mind of the limitless expression of love and God. Paragraph 14. The first coming of Christ is just another name for the creation because Christ is the child of God. The second coming of Christ means nothing more than the end of the ego's rule over part of the minds of men and women, beings, and the healing of the mind. And Jesus is speaking directly. I was created like you in the first coming, and I am reminding you that I have called you to join with me in the second. What a beautiful paragraph. So again, Jesus does a lot of reinterpreting of what a lot of unintentional misinterpretation of a lot of spiritualities and religions, but especially his time walking as a body thousands of years ago. And he's just saying that the second coming isn't Jesus coming back in physical form in the same body. It just shows, and the Course in Miracles gets a lot into how attached we are to the forms of things, including our own bodies. But the second coming means nothing more than the end of the ego's rule over the minds of men and women, the minds of beings or bodies, the minds of humans. I love that. Paragraph 15. If you will think over your life, you will see how carefully the preparations were made. I am in charge of the second coming, as I already told you, and my judgment, which is used only for its protection, the atonement's protection, cannot be wrong because it never attacks. God, how beautiful that is. That there are masters, because Jesus has said there's been very few that have awakened truly in the dream. He's not the only one. He was just the first. But a mind that is truly awakened Christ consciousness cannot attack. Can you imagine your mind having no judging, labeling, condemning, or attacking thoughts about anything? Nature, bodies, weather, government, family. Not just that it used to exist, but it doesn't exist anymore. Can you imagine having no thoughts of anything but love and fearlessness in your mind? This is what we're moving towards. So he says, cannot be wrong because it never attacks. But now he's talking about our minds. Yours is so distorted that you believe that I was mistaken in choosing you. And I think he is maybe directly talking to Helen Schuckman in that moment. But since Jesus knows that all minds are joined, that means any mind that picks this book up and reads these words, when I read that, it speaks to the same doubt of the ego voice in my own mind, even as I do this live broadcast to you. The part that goes, how could the Christ choose me to be a teacher of love when I feel so inadequate about my ability to extend love? And, that's just honest. And he says, I assure you, this is a mistake of your own ego. Do not mistake it for humility. Your ego is trying to convince you that it is real and I am not. Because if I am real, I am no more real than you are. That knowledge, and I assure you that it is knowledge, means that Christ has come into your mind and healed it. I think sometimes I don't even need to say anything. You can always leave comments if you're like, wait, what was paragraph 15? You didn't give me an explanation. I just think you can always go back and watch this and really listen. Because when the student is ready, the teacher is appear. Everyone listening to this, you are the Christ. We are all the Christ, fearless expressions of the one child. And this is our brother saying, I didn't mistake in choosing you. There's nobody out there who has more than you. You can either choose to rise or choose to stay down. Paragraph 16. I am not attacking your ego, but I am working with your higher mind, whether you sleep or wake, just as your ego does with your lower mind. I am your vigilance in this, because you are too confused to recognize your own hope. I was not mistaken in choosing you. Your mind will elect to join with mine, and together we are invincible. Think about that. When two minds join, when we join our mind with a awakened Christ mind, when we set that as the intention for what this book and what these lessons is for, we are invincible. You and your brother, and now he's talking about us and all other beings. You and your brother will yet come together in my name. And he's not talking about the name of Jesus. It makes me emotional. We get so lost in the symbols and the words and the bodies. This is a great tactic of the ego. When he's saying, you will come together in my name, he's talking about Jeshua the Christ, our one true self, and your sanity will be restored. And then the final paragraph, I raised the dead. He is talking about when he raised the dead. I raised the dead by knowing that life is an eternal attribute of everything that the living God created, the living creator of all things, the energy, the nature, the intelligence that creates all life and keeps creating all life and never stops creating, the Father. I raised the dead by knowing that life is an eternal attribute of everything the living God created. Why do you believe that it is harder for me to inspire the dispirited or to stabilize the unstable? I do not believe that there is an order of difficulty. I do not believe that there is an order of difficulty in miracles. You do. We do. I have called you, and you will answer. I know that miracles are natural because they are expressions of love. My calling you is as natural as your answer and as inevitable. This need not be. This need not be. Gosh, that's beautiful. So, yeah, every time I sit with this, I feel that kind of reminder again that peace isn't something that we earn. It's something that we uncover when we stop defending. So as you keep reading the chapters section by section gently or doing the lessons this week, I know I have a long way to go, but maybe you're just doing them already, and that's beautiful. Just notice where you're tensing up, where you're judging, where you're falling into past beliefs and thoughts that keep us from the one-mindedness. All that's really being asked in this book is that we practice imperfectly and make an invitation for our minds to be joined with the Christ mind, the one mind, the true mind. Stop trying to be good at spirituality and then just smile and say, this need not be. Whenever you feel the pang of fear or doubt or guilt or shame, this is just the ego trying to garner your allegiance again. And turn inward and say, brother, Jesus, Father, light, love, whatever word, thank you for letting me remember in this moment. This need not be. And that's it. That statement is the invitation. You don't have to understand how it won't be, how it will not be, or when it will not be. Just simply going, this need not be. Right. Lighten up a little bit, breathe, and remember, love's already doing the heavy lifting. So thanks for being here. Thanks for staying with me for chapter 4. Again, I just read one section. So I'm happy if somebody comes back and goes, hey, I didn't see that in my book. It's okay. Just keep reading wherever you are. And if there's ever a section that you want me to go over, leave it in the comments. Reach out on the lightenupmovement.com website, which is a work in progress. Subscribe if you like this. Feel free to share it. But I look forward to seeing you again for more breakdowns of each chapter, where I'll be reading my favorite section or sections if it's a really big chapter that I love, as well as the lessons. So stay light. That's what you are.